let your laptop, phone, computer, or whatever you're on via Zoom should also let you know that a recording just started. Um, so yes, I want to start by let me just take the stop screen sharing for a moment. I want to start by offering a big thank you to everybody who has been part of making this happen. Um, folks who have donated to being part of this moment because their energy is here and with y'all today as you move forward. There are so many people who have donated today to your moment, to the moment of this energy being carried overseas. So many people who have taken this workshop have actually been the donors.
Mm.
And because I think, that feeling it in your heart, and then putting it forward. So yeah, I want to thank, them. I want to thank my YMCA community. They step forward. These are things in the background that maybe this beautiful cohort does not know about. The YMCA community, the Black Creative Healing community, um, my writing community, y'all's writing community that, folks that you don't even know you're connected to, but you're connected to them, hundreds of people through me, because we have been doing the same work, all of us. And so we're all connected to the same root of telling our stories and healing and living better lives and more grounded lives because of it. So yeah, social media followers, everybody who's just been part of y'all's moment and of this moment, the future things that are about to happen with story sharing and connecting across these boundaries. So yeah, I'm grateful that I get to take this journey with so many people, this moment with these three women that I will be introducing in a minute. This time with y'all has been so beautiful. The 3 months that we spent together in my life and being able to be in the witnessing, as well as I always take the workshop myself, so I take it myself through, like, but ahead of y'all, and I have an experience as well. And so to let the audience know what that experience is, that is like diving down deep to put your hand on one of the wounding events in your life. Now, we know we have lots of wounding events, but putting your hand on one of the wounding events in your life and then following that back up to the surface of like, okay, well, this happened to me in the past. What did I lose and therefore want? And then following that want through the events of your life and things that have helped you to achieve, get what you want, things that have gotten away, and recognizing, internal saboteurs, which I will say are often connected to just trying to survive being in a colonized world. We'll talk about that more later. But yeah, and then coming all the way up through until you actually fashion for yourself another event in your life, like where you literally say, I am going to self-fulfill my wants. So I am going to take an action. So you actually intentionally walk into and manifest an action in your life that will reactivate your want in such a way that now you have all of these things that are tools and all of these ways that you have looked at your giftedness throughout the process of your years of wanting, and then you can take what you have and self-fulfill that want and have a new outcome. And so graduation is about being able to say for yourself and for others, I did that journey and I had the wisdom and awareness to create for myself and manifest for myself an event in my life that is impactful, positively impactful, so that I can self-fulfill my want. And then that wound becomes this thing in your life that is this beautiful thing in your life, only because not beautiful because of the tragedy of what happened, but beautiful because it's made you beautiful. So we talk a lot about the ways that trees grow, like this tree on the front of this book, and the reason why there's a woman's face in it is because when we look out at the trees and we have a tendency to look at a tree or to look at a person, or to hear who they are and see who they are in the world and go, oh my gosh, that person is beautiful. Oh my gosh, that tree is beautiful. And it's because the tree is wounded and has reached this way for the light, this way for the water, this way for the, and then has had outcome and revelation and grown all of this beauty on it. That's what makes it beautiful. So that's what y'all did. And for those who are listening or watching later, that is the process of what this workshop was all about. So yeah, the people that I want to thank the most are these three beautiful women writers who are sitting here. Before I introduce them, I just a little bit of housekeeping. When each of them is reading, we'll stay on mute. We will use the chat and our reactions for any congratulations or positive reactions that we want to have. We leave all the other reactions for your journal and for your therapist. And speaking of therapy, if you feel triggered, um, please just take that agency to turn down your volume until you feel like, let me check back in. Yeah, and to take that self-agency. But yeah, so that's something that we do in this workshop too. We offer congratulations and we offer positive praise. And yeah, and anything else we just say, oh, that's not that part, maybe it's not for me. This might be someone else's food, medicine, or kinship. Okay, now to do my introductions, I have to change my screen just a little bit, and I hope that that does not change things too much for y'all with this screen. Um, but so I wrote up some special introductions because of the beautiful time that I was able to spend with these gorgeous human beings. So our first reader is going to be Angel Iset Dozier, and then here comes the AKA. Most likely to start out in Durham saying, what, in the Zoom screen and end up in Paris in the Zoom screen. Spitting truth and wisdom and stories of little French girls who see the little tree hugging Black girl inside of her, all free spirited and all of her womanhood. She hails from Durham, North Carolina, and writes down to the bone all of the spells and sermons for Black girls who want to remember their magic. She writes down all the many songs of the body for Black women needing to remember what they put their tongue clicking combinations of their own spicy hearts toward in this life. I don't know if y'all ready, but I am. Give it up for Angel.
Okay, thank you. I'll start out by saying that Angel Iset Dozier. They were heavy, not just the books, but the way silence filled the room. I was little. My legs weren't made for this. One foot wobbled, then the other. The encyclopedias, volumes of other people's knowledge, pressed against my small chest like shame. I didn't even know what I had done wrong. The living room was still, except for my breath. I tried not to cry. The sweat on my temple felt like betrayal. My eyes followed a crack in the wall that looked like a lightning bolt. The air was too quiet. Not even the fan was humming. My hands were sticky like the warm syrup my grandmother had poured over the French toast she had taught me to make. My knees wanted to bend like dandelion stems, too long in the sun. I was 3 years old in 1979, standing on an unfinished wood floor. I thought about the splinter Mama had just removed from the ball of my right foot, how if the floor wasn't wooden, it would feel cold, like concrete. Smelled faintly of pine and punishment. A pot of pinto beans simmered somewhere in the house, but I couldn't smell anything good anymore. All my senses were curled inward, tight as wild oregano buds before the bloom. A breeze from the back window lifted the scent of dust and overripe banana. I breathed it in like medicine. I imagined I was outside digging up treasure near the center blocks where my brother and sister and I played and named and claimed the trees surrounding the blocks. I claimed the tree no one else wanted. They were all beautiful, but this one was small and hidden in plain sight, surrounded by purple and white and fuchsia wildflowers resembling hibiscus. I even knew a spot, a patch of soft dirt where the worms move slow and the ants move fast. I would gather purple clover and pretend it was food. I would name the ants and hum and whistle to them right there. I thought about my pacifier, the one Miss Hayes found under my shirt, the one Mama put on a string and slid down my shirt to help me self-soothe, the one Miss Hayes said I didn't need because I was too old for it. I didn't agree with Miss Hayes, no matter how old she was. Mama knew why I needed my pacifier, even when she didn't have the words as a Black woman special education teacher herself. But Mama wasn't here. She was at Lewisburg High School in her classroom, the first one on the right-hand side before a long, hollow hallway lined with 5-foot tall royal blue lockers leading to the main campus. Her classroom, full of other exceptional children. My arms ached. A tear slid down my cheek and dropped to the encyclopedia's cracked leather spine. It made a dark spot, just a little tiny one. I wondered if it would stay there forever, pressed into a flower, a fossil of a flower. I looked up, hoping someone would say I could stop holding these stupid encyclopedias, but the only voice was the one inside me, whispering like echinacea in the wind. You are a wild thing, Angel. And then a bird outside chirped, and I looked toward the sun, toward the sound. I imagined flying away. The bird didn't have to balance anything but its own wings. In that moment, I wanted wings too. Apple talked like she was peeling herself layer by layer, but only down to a certain kind of skin. I sat there listening like a good little echo, swallowing her words and hiding the taste of them behind my teeth. I mean, you know how they are, she said, leaning in like we shared a secret. She always said they like that. My voice curled around the word they like the Spanish moss on the bent branch in the back of my Aunt Fanny's Florence, South Carolina home. The word they came out of Apple's mouth softly, but strangling. I nodded, pretending I didn't feel the sting. My tongue felt dry, coated in the bitterness of something unsaid. I wanted to speak, to say, Apple, we are they. But my voice curled back inside, my chest like an invasive vine. A crow called once from the telephone wire above us. I looked up, the bird looked down, it blinked and then took off, feathers catching the wind like it didn't need permission. I wish I could go with it. Apple laughed. Don't get quiet now, she said, nudging my knee. So I smiled small. I didn't want to fight her, not when my own silence still felt safety, like safety. The air was thick with summer, honeysuckle, pavement heat, and the sharp bite of cut grass. My fingers traced a loop on my thigh, grounding myself. I thought of the tree down the street, the crooked one, the one that listened better than people, the one I could speak to without being interrupted, the one that never made me feel small. A bee hovered too long near Apple's vanilla soy latte. She swatted. I flinched, but Apple didn't notice. I wanted to say, your words are like that. They're buzzing, they're dangerous, and they're uninvited. But I only blinked. My heart beat steady like a drum I hadn't learned to play yet. The wind picked up, rustling the hydrangeas behind us. Their blossoms, wide, pink, and loud with life, seemed to lean toward me, like they knew I needed company. I took a deep breath, and the scent of mint and motor oil filled my nose. I closed my eyes and listened for my own name. beneath the noise. Apple kept talking, folding her napkin over and over, like she was tidying up something ugly. But her words were still there, tucking themselves into the corners of me like spoiled fruit in a lunchbox. I carried them longer than I meant to. That day, even as I said nothing, smiling small, I knew I was not her they. I was a wildflower under concrete, listening for thunder, not for her to change, but for me to break through. I'd learn later, but not today. I was 4, maybe 5 years old, small and fast, skin gleaming, part of my face reddened, part of my arms coppery in the sun. The heat clung to my skin like a wet tea, thick, unmoving. It was one of those Franklinton summer days where the air didn't move unless you did. I had been running wild with the boys since noon when Mama brought us to Grandma's house to visit. Barefoot on rock and gravel, the soles of my feet blackened, the sweat soaking the waist of my shorts. At some point, I took off my shirt, just like my brother and Nat did, feeling freer, faster, more alive without the cling of fabric on my back. I was one of them, shirtless like them. My little chest rose and fell with each breath as I darted past a magnolia tree, my favorite, leaping from one imaginary base to another in a game I didn't know the name of. Moments later, I could hear a car rolling up slow, but sharp onto the curb near the yard where Craig, Nat, and I were shooting the BB gun. It was Mama. She barely put the car in park before shouting through the open window of the white Opel Kadett. We called her Linda, the one with the hole in the floor where I could see the road blurring underneath us on the way to Grandma's house. Get in, she said. I froze mid-step, not because I was scared. I didn't even know I had done something wrong, but because of the tone of her voice. I started walking toward her, heart pounding, unsure why she looked so tight in the mouth, so stiff behind the wheel. But before I could reach the car, I heard it. The sound of footsteps slicing across the mini cornfield on the side of Reverend Yarber's house. That's Nat's daddy. Then came the sting, hot and immediate, like lightning drawn straight from the switch in my grandmother's hand. She didn't say a word, just cut through the silence with her strikes. 1, 2, 3, like punctuation, I had deliberately chosen defiance. I didn't scream, but the tears welled fast, partly from the shock, mostly from the confusion. I didn't understand what I had done. I was just playing, just breathing in the sun like everybody else. I caught a glimpse of my mother still sitting in the car. She didn't get out, didn't intervene, just stared ahead. By the time I climbed into the back seat of Linda, the joy had drained from me like water out of the cracked buckets we'd have to mend in order to keep collecting the slop that fed the hogs. My grandmother had made her point without saying a word, and I was left holding the shame, shirtless, stunned, still not sure what rule I had broken. No one ever told me. I remember how the air smelled, damp, red, hot grass, and the faint sweetness of old dishwasher water tossed into the yard. The cicadas were already screaming. A bee floated too close to my ear. I flinched, but stayed quiet. I smiled small. They didn't just steal my document. They tried to steal a method, a movement, a memory. They tried to take what I built, the long labor of listening, walking, knocking on doors, sitting in barbershops and sanctuaries and stoops, collecting what couldn't be measured, but was true. They didn't just steal my work. They used my name before they carved my name out of it as if it were to rot. Then they turned around and used it like it was new, like it was neutral, like it wasn't already mine. They appropriated the trust I built, the method I owned, the language I loved into being. They took Be Connected Durham, the organization I built, the method I shaped with my hands, my voice, my iPhone, my people, and twisted it into a lie called Be Heard Durham. They got grants. I got exhaustion. They had teams. I had ambassadors, real people, volunteers, believers, the Fayetteville Street Corridor Fellows. The fellows and I gathered voices from the ground up, not for exposure, but for belonging, not for show, but for freedom. Be Connected Durham, an invocation for people who had long been silenced to speak in their full voice. 11 years of stories, questions, translations, grief, and vision, an arts and cultural method, a qualitative method, a Black method, a soul method. They named the conversation guide I wrote after my community, after my work, after my reach. They knew that I was already doing what they couldn't imagine, collecting the stories that mattered before they even thought to ask the questions, all while planting, growing, and nurturing cucumbers and corn stalks in our community garden on the corner of Scout and West Piedmont. Where were they? The Durham Marshall Plan came out of 11 years of community storytelling, methodology, not policy memos, not backroom deals, but porch conversations, weekday listening circles, text threads with single mothers, grandmamas, street historians, people whose truths are never put into official minutes. They took the Durham Marshall Plan, the one I drafted from scratch using the language of elders, artists, and neighbors, and made it their PowerPoint. They added their privilege, removed the struggle, made it neat and vapid, but they didn't build it. I did. I did, in collaboration with those who sweat in church basements. I did, in collaboration with those who listen while braiding hair. I did, in collaboration with those who did the PhD level research regarding the sacred and historic Pine Street. I did, in collaboration with those who translated from silence to strategy. The crepe myrtle trees remembered. They tossed invisible flowers at my feet and into my hair as I walked down Fayetteville Street, just like they had in Paris on a beautiful summer day. The breeze picked up. I felt it circle behind me, then curl into my left ear like a whisper. Angel, do not stand shivering at the stained glass window. They will not let you in. I have opened another house for you, one with fire, food, and song. Walk there. That is where your crown shines. So I left their brick and mortars. I sat on the red clay colored deck in my backyard where nothing has to pretend. When I could feel the betrayal was bigger, where the stillness was still mine. I lit a lavender incense and arranged the furniture so the mosquitoes wouldn't find me. The yellow goldfinch came first, landing on the fence like a scout. Then two red rangers, a chickadee, a swamp sparrow, a northern red cardinal, bold as prayer. The woodpecker drummed once, and I knew I was being seen. The elm, the oak, and pecan trees stood above me, heavy with witness. They remembered. They were there when I gathered stories on foot, on porches, in sanctuaries, in salons, piecing together what would become the Durham Marshall Plan. A decade plus one of listening with the whole body, not just asking, but becoming the answer. So I left their buildings where my pearls were cast before swine, and I began to call back everything that is mine, especially the free-spirited and topless little girl whose bird chest was a portal for finding her way back here. Now, The Black woman grounded and initiated in the waters, who has returned with the artistic prescription and a sacred refusal.
Woo! Y'all can unmute and applaud. Yeah. Beautiful. Woo. Olivia says truly phenomenal. Yes, yes. Woo. Bold as prayer. I mark that moment. Woo. Thank you so much, Angel. And thank you so much for being who you are. Amen. Ashe, so powerful and divine from Andrea. Thank you. Woo, coming full circle in the most beautiful. Yes. In the most beautiful way. Yes, yes, yes. Thank you so much for offering us this amazing gift. Angel Iset Dozier, thank you for correcting also my mispronunciation of your absolutely gorgeous name. Woo, what a wonderful, powerful piece. I don't know. I got a lot to say, but I'm just not gonna say all of that right now. But I'm just so happy for you and the journey of that piece and seeing you feel the journey of that piece. Whew, yes. Oh, yes, yes, yes. We're gonna have time for after all the readings, we'll have time for some Q&A and some talking and some ask some questions and some giving comments. Right now, I want to move to introducing our next most divine reader. And as I have said, these introductions are fashioned after the time that I have spent with these three beautiful women. So our next reader is Free, aka most likely to hold out on showing us brilliant tapestry creations and then make us fall on the floor at the force of her creative amalgam of spirit, teacher, ancestral, auntie magic, and most likely to open her hand and blessings just fall in it. Free is what you just heard. Free, a weaver of story love tapestries, from cigarette card playing folks to holding you close folks to cousin loving folks to mama and brother song singing folks, self loving self, journeying spirit. Y'all need to hold on to what you got and take in her words. Make some noise for Free. Yay.
Thank y'all. In Potty Casey, the stars shine brighter because there ain't no street lights. The frogs and cicadas sing loudly, and the gravel underneath our feet when we walk creates a southern symphony of sounds that let me know I'm home. As a young girl, I remember being knee-high to my grandmother and holding her hand while trekking across the yard under the night sky. From Grandma Mary's house, we'd pass by Sonny Boy's house, and my grandma would always be sure to crouch down so she wouldn't get her head caught by the low-hanging clothesline. Then we'd cut through Cousin Rhonda's yard and pass by Mom Bert's house to arrive at my Uncle Lee's house. The greenhouse is what they call it. I remember all of the cars I would see in the yard, and the bass thumping from the speakers could be felt underneath my tiny feet before we even reached the front porch. I remember the loud screech of the screen door scraping against the concrete on the front porch as we entered into the in-between space filled with all the dusty knickknacks. I would cling to my grandma's side as she gave a hard, hefty knock on the glass window pane of the front door, and I'd be hoping that none of those dusty knickknacks would fall on top of me. The front door was always kept locked, So we would have to wait for a moment in the in-between space, and I could feel my grandma's anticipation pulsing through her hands. Sometimes she'd be talking stuff, hoping someone could hear her through the window. I know y'all's just waiting to get y'all's ass whooped tonight. Now open this damn door. My Uncle Lee would peek behind the lace curtains and start grinning when he saw who it was. He'd rush to start tussling with the locks of different kinds. He'd greet my grandma with a big hug, calling her big sis and me baby girl. I remember the sea of faces that I'd see lining the walls, some standing tall and some sitting just smiling at me as we entered the space and walked through the smoke clouds that filled the room. The folks at the card table would start making space and pull up a chair for my grandmother like it was her throne, and she would happily sit among the table filled with cards and cold beer bottles. She would drape her black leather purse over the arm of the wooden chair, scoop me up, and prop me up on her knee where I could get a better view of the table. The overhead kitchen light shined the brightest on the wooden table, and I would see playing cards scattered everywhere. Cigarette boxes of different kinds, an ashtray or two, lots of crinkly green paper, and all kinds of brown hands of different shades. I liked to watch the way my grandma's hands would move across the table when she was playing cards. She would move her hands as fast as her mouth, and I loved it when she slammed them down on the table and then all of the other hands would slide money towards us. Sometimes I get to hold one of those crinkly green papers, and my grandma would say, "Now hold on to that for me, baby girl. Keep it safe for me." I would play with the crinkly green paper and focus on listening to the mesmerizing music of the cards shuffling and gliding across the table until after a while, I would start to see the smoke clouds doing a different dance. This would usually happen after the droplets on the cold beer bottles stopped glistening and the air became thicker. I would look up at the ceiling, and the smoke clouds would be stuck up there in a thick fog, lurking, no longer swirling about freely in spirals and circles across the room. The smoke would form into dense, dark gray clouds shaped like blobs and slowly move about the room, surrounding us, squeezing us, making it harder for me to breathe, suffocating me. When this happened, I would climb down from my grandma's lap and crawl underneath the table where I could see other kinds of movement. Toe tapping, knee slapping, legs touching, cigarette ashes falling, and sometimes I could feel a subtle breeze from all this movement. I could still hear the cards shuffling, cussing words flying, and lots of cackling. When all of the spirits would start moving around, I felt safest underneath the table where they couldn't get me. I would sit underneath the table and think about my daddy. Sometimes I would close my eyes and wish hard for him to appear or for me to magically disappear from underneath the table to open my eyes and be with him. When I was with my daddy, things were so different. No card parties, no smoke clouds, no cussing, no loud people talking and cackling. Sometimes there was loud music, but only in the car. Our car rides were my favorite. His car had soft tan leather seats that were so much better than the gray cushion seats in my grandma's car that smelled weird and had funny looking stains. My daddy's car was always clean on the inside and shiny on the outside. When I was with my daddy, sometimes we would go to the mall or visit other family members. My daddy always held me close in his arms, and whenever we were around other adults, he never put me down. If I was walking, he never let go of my hand. If I was feeling shy, I could hide behind him and peep around his leg to see what was going on, and he didn't fuss at me to move or forget that I was there. I always felt protected when I was with my daddy, especially at nighttime. We never had to walk on gravel roads or go places where there were cars piled into the parking lot. We never went anywhere that back doors were closed, and I didn't have to hide underneath tables. My daddy would always make sure that I was right there with him. I wanted that feeling all the time, but that wasn't my reality. At the greenhouse, there were chairs lined up against the wall surrounding the card table. Sometimes I'd crawl away from the leg of my grandma's chair toward the center of the table where I could see faces of the folks sitting in those chairs lined up against the wall. Some men had women sitting on their laps and their hands wrapped around their bodies, gripping their hips and thighs, while the women just smiled and giggled. There were always at least 3 men with a mustache or a beard wearing a flashy gold chain, peeping at his watch while holding money in the other hand, waiting to make his bet or get in on the next game. I could always hear him coming. And then there was Cool Cat. I was always glad that I was under the table when he came. I could always hear him coming because of the long drag of his boots and the clanking of his jewelry. He had all the gold things: gold watch, gold chains, gold teeth, and gold rings. Whenever I heard him coming, I would crawl toward the opposite end of the table and wrap myself around one of the table legs so I could see that gold picture frame with the velvet portrait of the black mommy and daddy with the afros. And I would wonder why they were naked. But I didn't think about that too long because I'd end up getting distracted by hearing Cool Cat say nasty things to my grandma in her ear. Gal, what you doing wearing that dress with them breasts looking juicy like they are? Make me want to lick 'em. I hated the sound of his voice. Whenever he said things to my grandma, my tummy would start to ache, and then my face would get all frowned up, and I'd hug the leg of the table tighter and focus on that velvet portrait on the wall. I would think about how happy they looked. I would think about the kinds of things the daddy with the afro would say to the mommy with the afro. Then I'd think about my mommy. Where is she? I grew up with a lot of back doors being closed and wondering, what's that smell? I never asked this question aloud because I knew it was smoke. What I didn't understand is why it smelled different than cigarette smoke. There had to be another name for it. I just didn't know what else to call it. Whenever I spend the day with my mom, we always end up at one of her friends' houses. I would always bring along a coloring book and my favorite teddy bear, a light wash denim bear that came with markers for me to draw on it. Sometimes I would bring along my Kenya doll. She had long braids with colorful beads and a dress that my auntie said was made from kente cloth. I liked doing her hair and pretending she was a queen. My mom would usually get me a hamburger Happy Meal from McDonald's on the ride to her friend's house. And when we arrived, we'd be greeted by a huge caramel colored dog with white spots, slobbering and jumping at us. I would grit my teeth and close my eyes, afraid that I'd be attacked. My mom would grab me up and we'd walk down into the basement. She'd sit me down at the kitty table in front of the TV, lay out my food for me, pick up the remote control, and turn to the Cartoon Network channel. I would slowly force myself to eat while holding back my tears. My stomach would be in knots because I knew that after her friends came smiling at me and telling me how big I got or how cute I was, that they would take my mommy away from me, down the hallway, into that back room, and I'd be left alone for a long while after the door closed behind them. When the smoke clouds would start to seep out from underneath the door, I would wish the kitty table was bigger so that I could hide under it. You can't have me. Those words echo in my mind, became an affirmation and a prayer to keep me protected from harm, a healing salve to restore my nervous system, a sacred chant that guides me towards freedom. Some say that the enemy can't get you unless you invite it in, but I think it knows your scent, can smell your blood, fresh, innocent, pure, vulnerable, curious, seeking. Can't know all of your knowing, but can make you believe that you ain't got none. Can make you believe that what you got ain't yours. I know there is medicine that has always existed inside of me, but I didn't know it back then. I remember this damp summer night, my eyes red and puffy. I hear my name being called faintly outside of my tent. I put my notebook down and step outside of my tent. I can barely see the person standing in front of me, cloaked by the velvet of the night. No words are spoken between us. A blindfold is placed over my eyes and I'm guided across the soil of the wet earth. I feel my body buzzing with anxiety. My mind is spiraling with thoughts. Trust, I tell myself. Settle your body. I hear this in my mind and it takes me back to another memory, to the first time my feet connected on this land. There were 2 inches of snow on the ground that night and buckets of steaming hot water surrounded by the naked bodies of Black women. We were shivering uncontrollably, and in a deep, firm tone, she said to us, "Settle your bodies." I remember how we all tried to silence our inner weeping, stand more tall, straight, look strong. I locked eyes with each of my sisters. We were in this together. When we were instructed, we began to make our prayers while washing ourselves with the steaming hot water from the buckets, fresh herbs sliding through the palms of my hand with each prayer. And one by one, we crossed the threshold of the doorway into the basement. We were greeted by a sister who handed us fluffy white towels and guided us into a room filled with large floor cushions and blankets sitting on the floor beneath a candlelit altar. Mugs of warm tea handed to us to soothe our aching bodies and restore us from the cold. Be careful. You're about to cross over the threshold, a voice said to me, snapping me out of my memory and back into the present moment, feet walking across the soil of the wet earth. The night so black around me, the air thick like heavy smoke. I nod my head, hoping that the blindfold will be removed as soon as I cross the threshold, hoping to be reunited with my sisters again. My feet meet the cold concrete floor of the basement, and the blindfold is not removed. I hear the voice again. It's now time to recite the creed. My body begins to tremble as I slowly begin to recall some of the words that I just spent hours and hours in the darkness of my tent trying to memorize. I stutter a bit, take some deep breaths, and begin to speak, words flowing from my mouth freely, as if my brain had no choice in the matter. I am the master of myself. I determine what I think, what I do, and what I say. No external forces are responsible for my choice or my behavior. I'm determined to exemplify good character and to embody the true substance of womanhood. As the last word falls from my mouth, I don't feel proud, just grateful that it's over. I'm tired and I want to rest. And I want this damn blindfold taken off of me. Instead, I'm guided toward another room. I feel the carpet beneath my feet and the soft glow of the candlelit altar. It warms me to be here again. Still blindfolded, I hear the voice say, have a seat, think about your ancestors, speak their names, rest. I glide my hands across the leathery skin of the seat. The surface expands beyond the span of my arm, and I realize that the seat is flat. I can finally rest. I lay my body down and take some deep breaths, silently counting 1, 2, 3, inhale. 1, 2, 3, exhale. Images start to flutter in my mind of my great-grandma Mary's house in Potty Casey, the purple window shutters, the lace curtains that line the windows, the owl statue that sits on the front porch next to the bench, the baby deer statues that sit next to the bird bath cemented in the garden, the azalea bushes that line the head of the driveway, the grapevine trellis, the clothesline hanging from the tree. 1, 2, 3, exhale. Zzz. I hear what sounds like a low buzz humming near my feet. The buzzing gets closer to my body. I feel the vibration near my leg. A gloved hand grasps my ankle. The buzzing continues, entering into my body. My words become frozen in my mind. My voice choked out, arrested. My body tense as I feel tiny marks being etched into my skin. Silently, I grieve. Allow this feeling to seep into my bones as the ink sinks into my bloodstream without my consent. My words, my voice, my body, my blood, my womb, you can't have me. Secrets, spirits, spells. For many years, I stayed silent, and the more I did, the more I felt like I needed to be ashamed of what I had experienced. Today, I feel different. All of the pain and rage, all of the secrets, all of those years of silently grieving the sisterhood, the tribe, the life that I had to leave behind. It can no longer stay trapped inside of me. I give all of it permission to be released from me. This month, I got sick during my sacred bleeding time. As I lay on the hardwood floor, completely empty, physically depleted with a trash can of vomit next to me. There were no tears. For the first time during my sickness, my eyes were dry, and only these words echoed from my soul. You can't have me. My words, my voice, my body, my blood, my womb. This is the medicine that keeps me. These are my sources of power and wisdom. I continue to transmute my pain into power, my trauma into beauty. I continue to transcend any challenges with grace. I continue to blaze a new way forward because a new way has been birthed through me. I continue to stand in my sacred resonance and walk in integrity with what I came here to do. Be free.
Wow. Yes. I was trying to type
Yeah. Amazing, amazing, amazing.
that a new
Wonderful.
way has been birthed through me. Oh my God. Woo. Oh, oh, thank you so much, Bree, for that beautiful, amazing journey of like just journeying deep into, I always think of the womb, deep into the womb, and then into the imaginary spaces, the beauty and powerful spaces, the crimson, and then back out to this brand new surface that you have crafted through the tapestry of your words. So, yes, thank you so much. And I just want to say to all of y'all, the sensory details, ooh wee, yes, bringing us into time and place and space. We have some comments. Yes, absolutely beautiful, free. I could see the world you described. I could feel the emotions you evoked. So moving. Thank you. From Olivia, from Angel. Yes, they can smell it. You better, free. Zenzele, my heart leaps when I hear you read, free. Home, ritual, and transformation. Thank you. What beautiful blessings, what beautiful blessings, what gorgeous gifts that you all have born out of, writing your journey from wound and all the wants and the memories to revelation and beautiful outcomes, just gorgeousness and living this whole new way and offering us all this whole new way of being. Yes. And so listen up. Okay, our next reader, Zenzele, am I pronouncing right? Isoke? Yes, here comes your AKA.
You did it.
AKA, most likely to hold in one hand a brilliant, magical, masterful disclaimer and hold in the other hand one of the most powerful recitations of personal power and truth telling known to Black womankind. She hails from Maryland. Her stories take personal questions and bungee jump you down past layer upon layer of kinfolk into some red Kool-Aid, into professional classrooms, onto front and back porches, into bedrooms decorated with pink wallpaper, and all the way back up to the topsoil of her brilliance and vulnerability that don't care who thinks what of the solid woman she is. It is time to take a story journey through the many layers of your heart. Clap your hands for Zenzele. Woo! Yip, 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 yip.
Oh, thank you so much, Zelda. Thank you for my kin folks and for folks who've read and reread and heard and commented over the course of our 12-week journey together. I am grateful. I am fortunate. So yeah. Okay. So I am going to start with a breakthrough moment that I experienced as a result of this workshop. It's called Cussing Out My Inner Saboteur. The inner saboteur is a mean and persistent bitch, but she needs to be put in her proper place, out of our conscious and unconscious minds, especially when we write. So let me cuss out my inner saboteur, my biggest obstacle. Fuck you, bitch. You have been getting in my way for the past 25 years, this fake humble shit. You need to stop pretending that you are insecure with your psychobabble. You ain't no Buddhist monk or a famous writer. You are just a working class Black girl from North St. Louis. Street smart and kind. You have traveled the world. You create new knowledges and raise up PhDs. You need to own that shit. So, where is all this fake fear shit coming from? And why do you keep saying silly, pathetic shit to shore up cheap praise and easy affirmation? Girl, you got royalty inside your DNA. Royalty from West Africa, Guinea, royalty from the Incas and the Aztecs and the Tainos of the Caribbean. You need to take yourself on an ego trip. Where does all this anxiety come from? You know, anxiety ain't shit but a chemical reaction in your brain. You have raised up two Black queer femme geniuses on your own terms. You have rejected materialism, rejected fame and academic stardom, instead banked on raising two little Black girls into grown-ass, successful, non-binary femme humans in a world that is actively trying to erase them. The world will not succeed. You, in a saboteur, need to stop giving undue weight to your fears so that you can be relatable to other people. Got the secret sauce to living well in my back pocket. I live well with depression, bipolar, or whatever other ridiculous words doctors have come up with to describe the tumultuous expressions of my beautiful mind. I know how to arrange my life around my neuroatypical brain and your atypical ideas and live it up. Live it up well. No more self-imposed lies. Your fears are an illusion and flimsy obstacle to my greatness, my righteous swag. Fear has no sway on me as long as I don't listen to you. Suicidal thoughts, panic spirals are nothing but fear, only fear. Fear of my own greatness, fear of the glory of the goddess who dwells within. And anyway, real talk. When did I ever, when did fear ever stop me from doing anything? So why do I give fear form with my lips, teeth, tongue, and vocal cords? When fear rises up from your throat, swallow it quickly like a bitter pill. Instead, speak your fierceness, your ferocity, speak your power, speak your wisdom, speak your love. First reading. Mother's love, unrequited. Mother love, unrequited, reverberates for a lifetime. It lurks in every unwritten word, unfulfilled dream, every felt relationship in our youth, in our middle age, and though rarely discussed, even in the sunset of our beautiful, difficult lives. That in my family is what we call the curse. But most Black people don't blame our mothers or their inability to love us. We don't blame our absent fathers. At best, we blame a racist, sexist society. At worst, we blame ourselves. Today's offerings are an attempt to approach this topic a little differently, a little more honestly, a little more courageously. What if I was afraid of myself as much as my mother was angry at me? What if all of the energy I poured into folding sheets and towels, planting a patio, flower garden, and pretty much anything else I could think of to avoid sitting down and writing was simply anger that I was trying not to feel. Load after load of laundry that suddenly had to be completed. Sorting through pile after pile of dirty, not quite dirty, yet to be worn but mixed in with the dirty, and sweaty t-shirts and underwear had to be dealt with now. What if all of the chores I had piled up for the last 3 weeks that suddenly had to be properly completed is just misplaced, redirected anger? Instead of being angry at my mom, I am angry with myself for being angry at my mom. And there is no outlet for anger and grief when love is unrequited, especially mother love. On the afternoon of the day before my wedding, my mother mentioned in passing that she would not be attending. After spending hours helping her shop for a mother of the bride dress and purchasing her airline ticket, she decided to duck out. She'd had enough of me. Over the days leading up to my ceremony, I tried desperately to connect with her, but apparently not in the right way. Never in the right way. Each day I greeted my mother, who always slept in about 2 to 3 hours after beginning my morning, with a slightly forced and formal good morning. How did you sleep? What did you want to do today? She couldn't speak because she would only enter the kitchen with a mouthful of hydrogen peroxide for her daily 5-minute soak. But this wouldn't stop her from mumbling indistinguishable questions and making wild gestures with her hands before giving up and making her coffee or wiping down the kitchen I had just cleaned. After rinsing her mouth and washing up, she would come out shooting questions at me. Where's the coffee? Can we go to the store to pick this up? Do you have any bacon? Do you have any agave? She would ask me anything except how I was doing, how I was feeling, or if I needed help with anything. She would just keep talking about this, that, or the other without acknowledging me. Each time she essentially ignores me, refuses to see me, the sadder I become. I'm snatched back to the troubling years of my early adolescence. The muscles of my face drop, exchanging friendliness for a kind of dullness. At 49, unspilled tears fill my eyes. I refuse to let them fall. The corner of my mouth droops. The corners of my mouth droop. This was day 3. As I have for many decades, I got the mother love I was missing from my romantic partner. After a day of being ignored in favor of an hour-long daily phone call on her headsets with her sister in Kansas City, during a 45-minute drive to pick up my wedding dress in Virginia, after an entirely unnecessary conversation with my auntie, who made up every excuse not to attend the wedding, and with a more or less superficial conversation with my brother's daughter, who resented me because my mother called her by my name for years until she realized I was never coming home from college. I was fed up. I was fed up with her inability to be present with me in a time that should have been brimming with happy anticipation. She could not look me squarely in the face, into my eyes, and share my joy. It was simply too painful for her. It had been like this ever since I told her about my brother's sexual abuse. That was over 12 years ago. So it was easy for me to bounce up, smile, and kiss my partner, my fiance, when I heard him push his key into the lock of our apartment. I perked up like my thirsty fiddle leaf fig after being watered for the first time, like a 5-week-old puppy greeting his owner after a day of being left entirely alone. I knew that when I opened the door, he would look me straight into my eyes and smile, and I would do the same, allowing him to gather me close into his body so that I could feel the warmth of his affection. He never disappoints me. My mother notices the dramatic shift in my disposition. It angers her, triggers a simmering and always present jealousy. Then it was my turn to show her what it looks like to give and receive love from me. I treated him much like I used to treat her before she trampled over the remaining innocence of my childhood. I followed Naeem around the house like I used to follow her around before she broke my heart. I made sure everything looked and smelled perfectly when he walked through the door. I saw after his every need, made sure our skin brushed with stolen caresses, curled up beside him on the couch, asked him what happened at work, asked questions to get the details, and made lively commentary around the characters at his job. He loved all the attention, and I loved doling it out because it was always reciprocated. My mother broke my heart when I was 12 years old. It happened when she let her longtime married boyfriend spend the night one Sunday evening. Beginning about 10 o'clock, the thumping started progressively getting louder and harder. They assumed my brother, uncle, and I were asleep in the adjacent room of our small apartment, but we couldn't sleep through the ruckus noise of their hard fucking. After that night, I could barely look at her, let alone tolerate her smell or touch. I spent the night of crying silently outside her bedroom door while the wooden headboard thumped, sometimes fast, sometimes slow and steady, sometimes quieting and other times picking up again with soft knocks. The agonizing hours of hearing her moans and her lover's groans and shouts through the night and early morning pretty much strangled out any remaining affection. In its place stood a block of confusion, swirling with a cold, hot bitterness. I had no more tears for her. She and Darnell had fucked them out of me that night, along with any respect that I could naturally muster. When the sun rose slowly the next morning, we tried to act natural, ignore the stolen silence that had settled over our family. The silence was broken by an argument between her and my uncle. He had words for her. He had words for the mercurial rage coursing through me and my brother's brains. No amount of takeout Mexican food, sizzler dinners, or wine chicken would break the thick and unpenetrable hatred that glazed over my heart. After that night, she was no longer mom, even though that's what I used to call her. She became the evil black bitch my great aunties and cousins had called her. The black bitch her own mother called her after she came back from the military. The smooth, silky, sweet smelling cedar wood skin that I would love to run my fingers over and inhale as a little girl became an instant reminder of that agonizing, humiliating night. She had given her sweetness away, ignoring my pleas that night to make it stop. After that night and a few more without the loud and adulterated brazenness, I started ditching school, stealing whatever I could get my hands on. I no longer asked her for anything because I was no longer a child. I created an alternate life for myself that didn't include her. When she got rid of my dog Queenie after I'd been caught stealing, I hated her even more. The tears came, but they meant nothing, not even to me. But I was so desperate for love and affection that I would skip school to spend time with my friends' pets. At that time, like so many others, feeling love was more important than academic recognition. So I sought out places of recognition and connection, boyfriends, romance novels, any friend who would let me come over after school when my mother worked her double shifts. The ones that ensured that she didn't have to spend more than a few minutes looking at my angry, sullen face. I would often wonder why my mother would always choose what she called the swing shift, and sometimes double that with the night shift 2 or 3 nights a week. The shift guaranteed that not only would she never be home, but that she would always be unavailable to pick me up from school, take me to and from any practice, or do anything else remotely related to parenting. On these days, she would come home in the morning about 7:30 to 7:45, depending on traffic, and I would be on my way out the door, supposedly going to school, but more often going to an older friend's house who did school regularly. My mother was usually off on Sunday and Saturday mornings, which I usually resented because there was no such thing as sleeping in on these days. My mother dragged me out of bed by 8 in the morning. She would make some huge skillet-sized biscuit pancakes. The first batch she usually burned on the outside and left undercooked on the inside. We would wake to the smell of pancake batter and sizzling bacon, which meant that we had to wake up and eat, or at least I did. I was the only one who did what I was told. When I was done eating, my brother would show up while I cleaned up the mess, scrubbed the black iron skillet, wiped the spattered grease from the stove, and put away the dishes. His pancakes, always golden and perfectly made, were left for him to enjoy under my mother's satisfied gaze, then take out the trash and disappear for the rest of the day. He was gone. Meanwhile, I dusted the furniture, swept and mopped the kitchen floor, cleaned the bathroom, vacuumed the carpet, whitewashed the walls, and did whatever else my mother had in mind to get done around the house. Not only did this work have to be done, it had to be done with exacting precision demanded by an Army first-class sergeant. This meant that I usually had to complete a task 2 or 3 times before she was satisfied, and she would always come behind me to check to see if it was done right. To my mother's credit, she didn't just give orders. She cleaned too, but there was a seriousness to the housework that made it stressful and exhausting instead of energizing and fulfilling. Nothing ever seemed to be up for her standards on the first try unless she did it herself. I was demoralized because, as much as I resented her, I was always doing my best just to make sure she wouldn't have anything to say. My efforts went unnoticed. Once the house was clean, it was time to go to the grocery store, and I always had to with her. Even though my mother had a small list, we always came back with at least 4 or 5 bags full of groceries. The only snacks were 18-cent store brand yogurts, kosher pickles, Vienna sausage, saltine crackers. She was always nice enough to let me pick out the yogurt. I would help her carry the groceries up the tall set of stairs to our second-story alley-facing apartment. Then I unloaded and put away the groceries, but not before cleaning out the refrigerator, tossing the uneaten leftovers from the previous week. Finally, I had to disassemble the double paper bags, carefully fold them, make them fit neatly into one bag. This would inevitably result in me being called lazy and sloppy because I could never do it right the first time. I wouldn't slow down and do it right because I was so eager to be away from her. After a full day of work, I would lie down in my crisply made twin bed with fresh sheets and pray she didn't want anything else before she went off to work. Still, the tears would come because I knew I wouldn't see her again until the next morning, if even then. This went on for months at a time. The only break in the schedule was her going to drill 1 weekend a month, or picking up an evening class or two at the community college toward her associate's degree. That was my life. Some days I might be able to visit a friend on the weekends, but they were usually tied up visiting family or doing something with their single mothers, like going to the movies or shopping at the mall for clothes or shoes. My brother had his many girlfriends, the homies, the neighborhood drug peddlers, and gangsters. I had a nice, clean house, my mother's historical romance novels, and my dolls. I didn't realize until I was adult how much my friends envied our home. Both of my closest friends keep their homes the way my mother's looked, at least when I visited. I found this to be quite peculiar because that was not how they had been raised. Their homes were messy and cluttered, the floors were dirty, and there was a coat of dust on just about anything. When I visit them, I would sometimes start cleaning out a habit as a way to show my appreciation for having me over. I didn't realize that this behavior is often considered rude. When I was young, I was often tell my friends my mother didn't like me, but they didn't believe me. They saw the white walls, carefully made beds, the sparkling counters, and gorgeous sunlight through the windows. So they thought we were rich and that my mom had to work so I could have a beautiful place to live in. It never occurred to them that it was my labor that made the house look like that, and that keeping it that way was the only way to avoid yelling, insults, and threats. A clean house was the only way to make the peace. And so that's what I did, all the while stewing in an ugly sense of resentment. For a child, there is no joy in a clean house if you were the only one in it. The house was beautiful but cold, and beneath the cold, a simmering brimstone of resentment. Even so, that didn't stop me from waiting for my mom when she worked the swing shift. Although I was in bed by 10 o'clock, she would come home at 10:40. I wouldn't fall asleep until she walked through the door. I would wait for her, hoping she would say, "You did such a good job with the kitchen or the bathroom or with anything." But she would usually come to tell me to get up and do something I hadn't done right. And then with all the sullenness of a broken-hearted 13-year-old girl, I would silently do as she asked and go back to bed. "Good night," she would call when I finished. "Good night, Mom," I would reply, and then continue reading the novels hidden under my pillow until I fell asleep. In the days leading up to my wedding, I had been waiting for her to speak to me, to see me, waiting for her to say something kind, sweet, or motherly, and she always disappointed me. She had probably read my body language and saw the same resentment that I had been carrying for so long. As usually, she ignored my unfallen tears, and the more she ignored me, the more silently resentful and sad I became. No doubt she could never understand why. She had given me everything she'd ever wanted for herself. My life was a continuation, a good continuation of hers. She probably felt like I just don't like her, and it must have broken her heart to see all the twisted hurt melt out of my body when Naeem came home. My resentment instantly evaporated into pure love. I've always judged myself for being angry at my mother, for feeling hatred for her and her choices. But what I hate more than this is the look on my face when I look in the mirror when she's around, when it's just me and her coexisting in an uncomfortable silence, each of us waiting for something that the other doesn't know how to give. My cheeks are sucked in so hard that if I were to bite down accidentally, I would take out a small chunk of flesh. The sides of my lips are slightly snarled, my brow is furrowed, and my 11 lines standing at full angry attention. Some call this resting bitch face. I call it the face of an adult child of a mother's love, unrequited. Thank you.
Woo! Oh my gosh. Woo! Woo! Whoa, you worked that piece. Inside and out. Woo! Thank you for
Did
thank
that.
oh my yes, you did that.
Beautiful.
Woo! 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 Brian's Free says yes. Brian says quoted you um friendliness for dullness. I quoted you, there is no joy in a clean house if you are the only one in it. Uh, Free says, "Oh my God, Zenzele, the way you capture the mother wound is impeccable." Olivia, wow, with prayer hands. Andrea, thank you, Andrea. Thank you for your strength and delicacy. Yes. Um, Angel, oh, the sensory details as you talk about being watered. I mean, all of it. Wow, the key turning, the apartment you shared. Yes, to so much raw and stunning. And that vulnerability, man, I'm telling you what, that when I say what I believe about how story, and when I say story, I mean our stories, like the raw vulnerability thumbprint, the story that no one else could possibly tell because it is as unique as your thumbprint. When we allow ourselves to first write those for ourselves so that we can write and witness and have a blueprint of awareness so that nobody can come along, look at us psychologically, sociologically, know us better than we know ourselves, and then manipulate us. So first, when you know your story yourself and allow your truths to be told for yourself, and then when you allow that story to become breath and to exchange it with other people, I'm telling you what about this colonization thing. It dissolves the walls, the barriers, the superiority lies and inferiority lies and all of the things that capitalism puts in place that keeps us from just being human community, so that we grow and flourish just like things in a garden would. So thank you. That's a long thank you for your vulnerability. Thank all of you for your vulnerability, because your stories today, even offer us as audience and us as listeners ways to be and path to walk and way to understand ourselves. So I want to. We are gonna do like an exchange. I'm gonna talk to you about. I'm gonna talk to you all about this workshop and talk to you all about how this workshop is going to Zambia a week from today. And that some of your words, I want you all to stay on so that we can. I can take some of your words to them, because I'm taking your words to them, their words coming back to you. But I want to open it up first to some Q&A, some congrats, some whatever that our viewers slash listeners may want to offer, or things that they might want to ask y'all questions about for our beautiful cohort panel of readers. So this is that time. if y'all want to, yeah, it is kind of like pressure because there's three of you in the live audience. So, and the people who are not here live cannot ask the questions, but y'all can even also ask questions of each other, you know. So this is a conversational time. Everybody, we can all unmute and go for it. Yeah. So yeah, this is that Q&A slash discussion moment that we are in right now. Yeah. So what you got? Who want to know what? And y'all can also ask me questions because, you know, I'm sitting up here, you know, like the person behind the curtain spinning the wheel, you know. Yeah, so I will say that the work that this cohort has done is from the soul of the full-length manuscript, and that this book came about from years of this work. And so there are so many people, even people who contributed today, who were part of the breadth of the work of this being written down so that other people can have this journey of personal story. How do you take personal story and offer it up as a healing for yourself and as gift for others? So yeah, so that's where this comes from. This is so this is the book that when we were trying to get enough copies of the book to send to Zambia, because I'm doing a Fulbright for those who don't know, even though I've been talking about it, because we got to have our community together on this. The work that you witnessed today of being able to take your own personal story, ask yourself what the wounds and wants and gifts, and then be able to move forward into new revelation and outcome for yourself. That work is the work that my Fulbright is that I'm taking to cross pollinate, you know, so that this work goes to Zambia, Liberia, Martinique, to different places, but then their stories come back for us as well, you know, so that we have that, because that for me is part of breaking down the barriers, is the truth of and the manifesting with my own body, um, actually going and not letting any boundaries, you know, even if it's like, oh, well, you know, this got defunded or that's not enough money or da. But there's all of us, you know, there's all of us. So if we collectively affirm and say, yes, yes, take this over there. Yes, bring their words back over here. Yes, open up a portal so that the boundaries of even what we call, you know, the lines of what we call like countries and boundaries um, of who we do and don't talk to, and maybe things that we've been propagandized to understand about other people, all of it begins to dissolve. So yeah, so that's the work. Thank you, Brian, for the heart. And I also want to continue. Y'all can also put your questions in the chat or your comments in the chat. But those of you, a lot of y'all have the link now, that fundraiser link that you went to contribute. That link is live, and that link will remain live until till September 1st, until I literally go to the airport, because every dime is needed. So if you have witnessed this moment or taken a workshop, or just, you know, somehow you end up breathing in part of the soul of the full-length manuscript with other people, send this to somebody else and tell them how important this is to you or for you, and tell them to contribute. We are halfway there right now. We are at, let me give y'all the total. We are at $3,027 dollars. The goal is $7,000. I know. That's y'all. That's writers, that's people that have taken the workshop, that's community, that's people online, that's folks have been just like been like, I ain't got no money, and like contributing $5. I'm like, look at you, you know, I mean, this is beautiful stuff, because it is and isn't about the money. You know, money is taking human energy. It is the colonization of human energy into, what did you say, the green piece of paper, free? Into the green piece of crinkly paper. And we can decolonize that piece of paper. we can say, wait a minute, money is just energy, and it is the energy of every single resource being commodified into one thing. We can deconstruct that, and offer each other the energy that we need. And now I am preaching. Um, I know that Angel had some words to say. You were speaking before we went live and went recorded and all that stuff. So I'll let you have the floor, Angel.
Yeah, so I was just, well, as it's come up in class, we've been talking about how this is the artist's way for Black women. It's a must. It feels like how they talk about that book, like, oh, you have to read it. This right here feels like a must. And this process has helped me with every professional thing I've needed to do during this process, and with legal matters. Like, I am grounded, I am fierce, like fearless, or if I feel the fear, it's, I still do it, and I'm like, I'm in it. You cannot tell me anything right now in this moment. I feel that clear, and that is such a blessing because it was hard to get here, but
Yeah.
I am here, and I don't believe I would have been able to find that if I didn't take this class. And that's the message I want to be able to convey on your behalf, because it is powerful, it's transformative. And we say we want these things, we want to transform, we want to go higher, we want to do this. But when we realize the work is very hard and deeply spiritual, and it's like, you gotta, trouble in my way, I gotta cry sometime. It's just, wow. I I get to do this. I get to be on this journey as I learn and relax and rest in who I have always been. Who I have always been. Like, I found it. They tried it, but they failed. I figured it out. I know who I am. That's why
Mm.
I say my name in the beginning. I wasn't correcting you. I
Oh, okay.
I say my name in the beginning. Either that or you're welcome. And I learned how to do that in this class. That's bold, right?
That's beautiful. That's
You're
beautiful.
welcome. Because, yeah, I know what I do out here in these streets for my community. And I don't need to prove it, but I do need the dignity and respect that any human being deserves. Yeah. And I think I'm able to, like, convey that message, articulate the message because of this process. And I just want to say thank you. That is a commercial. This has been wonderful. And to see you do this alongside us, that's a master right there, for lack
Mm.
of the better word to use, master, we can be a little extra Black. But, like, just
Yeah.
precision, the perfection that they talk about, that
Mm.
right there. So thank you.
Thank you. Thank you. It's the work of my heart. So, it's to do the thing that you would do, even if there was no such thing as money. Go where you will go, take all of yourself with you and do your work. Um, and thank you so much for that. Olivia says, thank you to each of you for sharing your stories, your vulnerability. Thank you for allowing us to witness you and your retelling and remembering. I love that, retelling and remembering, like collecting all parts of yourself and putting them back together. My question is about inviting vulnerability in our writing. Zelda, what is it like to invite truth telling in folks? To the writers, what was it like to write and share so vulnerably with one another and with yourselves? And to all, do you have any tips for Black women who also want to speak truth and power through our pens? Thank y'all. That's from Olivia. So I'll let y'all speak to that, and then I'm going to chime in Because you might very well answer the question that about Zelda, what is it like to invite truth telling in folks? So I will let you all speak first to the question of what was it like to write and share so vulnerably with one another and within yourselves.
Okay, I'll go.
I'll go because I just talked a long time.
It was liberating and soul shattering all at the same time, but like in the most I want to say gentle, but nothing about it was like gentle. It was very like, what are we doing? Like we all had moments where we felt like, what the fuck did I get myself into? But the container that Zelda has created for us and the way she has held space for us like virtually, but even outside of that, I feel like we probably been gathered in her ethereal womb of some sort. She's been carrying us. And it has also been just very fucking real. Like I don't know how else to say that. It's like pulling up these memories and also like living our actual lives in real time. That stuff clashes because things are resurfacing and you're also realizing that like you may be living out some of the same patterns that you're like pulling up, and so it just kind of feels like, like a clusterfuck of chaos and like beauty all at the same time. And being able to just spend like 12 weeks is not a short time. Okay. It's not a short time.
It's
And
not.
I think today what felt validating for me was listening to all of our stories, hearing like all the details, but also seeing how we're all weaved into each other's stories too.
Mm-hmm.
And we didn't know that that's what would happen when we came into this. We didn't even know like what would come out of us. And yeah, these are my sisters now.
Yeah, Free, you said it. We did not know. And 12 weeks is not a short amount of time. But what was really like incredible about this process, for me was, when you write memoir, it's really hard because you do have to go back into the past. You do have to kind of reflect and make meaning out of these little snippets and snaps of like things that happen in our life and things that happen like even while we're in the workshop. But I felt like this workshop provided like a structure to make sense of it and a template that can be used to help us understand how you put memory together and experience together and wisdom together in order to create a story that has the potential to transform. And I just loved it. Wow, like hearing the evolution of people's ideas, hearing about people's inner saboteurs and how they kind of arise and kind of come up, particularly my own actually. And then just having a teacher, and I'm going to say this, like a teacher who reads and pays attention to the work is a rare gift in this world that most people don't have the opportunity to get, even people who are paid to do that kind of work. And so, of course, you're paid, but you actually read and help us pay attention to what it is that we are writing. And and how it's kind of coming onto the page. Wow. I mean, yeah, this workshop is, I mean, I've never been part of anything like this before. And yeah, plot, time, place, sensory details, all of that you're gonna learn, and you're not gonna learn it easy because you're not just gonna tell you. You're gonna make you figure out how to work with your materials, work with memory, work with your raw materials of your life. And so I feel like it's invaluable. And I'm grateful to be part of this learning community and this writing community.
That's right.
Yeah.
One.
Thank you for that. I appreciate y'all with that. And Zenzele, I was thinking about, even when Free was talking, I was thinking about Zenzele when we played charades and you acting out me. So yeah, it is a bit like, some strong Black midwifery goes on. Yeah, I hold you all in orbit. So, in answer to the question about, um, what is it like to invite truth telling in folks? Um, I tell folks on the first day, first of all, we need an experience together first, even if it's me meeting with you individually or whatever, so that you understand how I operate. Because when I talk about colonization, it's just like literature is colonized. It's just like got folks doing this thing where they just writing down some stuff to see how much money they can make. And it's like, is the human soul there? If not, you're not making art. You're doing something, and that's okay. Maybe people just need that. You're doing something, that's okay. But if you're not making art, meaning telling some truth about what it has been like to be here, and if you're telling that through fiction or memoir or whatever, or poetry, then you need to do that. So on the very first day, folks have already had some experience with me, even if it's like, look, let me have you on the phone for 30 minutes to see if you want to do this, so that they understand that this is not the artist's way. This is something else. We can ready to do something else.
I like to have something to sit too on that.
Yeah.
Yes.
So, and then I hold y'all in orbit, and so I commit to what I am doing. I'm not gonna bullshit y'all. I'm not gonna bullshit nobody with I'm either gonna do what you're supposed to be doing or leave it alone is how I operate. So the first day I tell you that I will hold you in orbit, meaning I will listen to everything that you have said since the very first moment of meeting with me for 30 minutes to see if this is something you want to do. And I will reflect it all back to you as part of the plot of what you are trying to grow from or change with, and then and in doing that work, that is the part that I feel like, yes, I'm creating space and holding you like this. And then I'm true to you. So if you begin to go outside of the bounds of that, like I tell you on the very first day, you'll get to the middle, you'll love me and you'll hate me. But I am going to do what you ask me to do. So when you get to the middle and you begin to, just like the middle of any change, I love that you said, what did you say, Free? I wrote it down. You said, I put it changes in front of it, but you said a clusterfuck of chaos.
Yeah.
And so when you get to the middle and you're all spun around and turned around and you're like, I'm in the middle. This is horrible. I hate you. Why are we doing this? And all your saboteurs start to come up and it's everybody's fault. I remind you that that's what we said on the first day. You're going to feel in the middle. You're in the middle. The way to get out of the middle is to keep going forward. The way to get to relieve your pain immediately is to do what you saboteurishly been doing to yourself in the first place. And so yeah, so that's how I hold people. That's how I hold people in their truth, is listen to their truth so that you can feed it back to them when they are most confused, so that their own truth becomes the dot on the wall when they're dancing and spinning and losing focus on the direction that they were actually going in. And then we come out on the other side and do things like have readings. So and apply it to all of the rest of our lives. And yes, I do take the journey every time I reach down into one of my personal plots and I do the journey before they do the journey. Angel, you said you were wanted to unmute and offer something as well.
Oh, I was just saying, I was, just gonna give some space for Zenzele and Free. Zenzele, how do you pronounce your name? Say your name out loud. Because we do this, we trying to just make sure we pronounce it, and it seems like we're changing it every single time.
Zenzele.
Zenzele.
Yes.
Zenzele.
Zenzele. So I hope we answered your questions, Olivia, and feel free to unmute and holla.
Well, I don't know if we answered the last one.
Oh, okay. The last one was into all and into all. Do you have any tips? Thank you. We did not answer that. Do you have any tips for Black women who also want to speak truth to power through our pens? I'll let you all answer that, and I'll like sprinkle some little fairy dust in at the end because I know y'all had the experience, so you can speak to that.
Well, what I want to say is just about being raw, like just showing up to your journal pages like unedited, just raw, even if it's just like a very what feels like a minor detail of a memory, like capture it and keep coming back to it, because that's what'll pull other stuff for it. And I think the other thing that I learned in this process with Zelda is that our imagination is also memory. There were things that I was able to like capture because I imagined and thought that I was making stuff up. And then later on, I would be validated in some way, whether it was through conversation with my grandmas or my auntie or my mama, or like revisiting a place or whatever. And it's like, oh, my imagination actually served me correctly. Um, I think also like really allowing yourself to be guided by your intuition and like really rooting yourself in that. There was a moment in this process where I just felt really called to like pulled to like go be at my grandma's house and on my ancestral land, and I was there for like a week, and I feel like so much came from me just because I was there. And I think when we're like moving through our daily lives, we may feel nudges to do something and then ignore it or dismiss it and act like it's not important, when really it's our soul's way of trying to tell us like this wants to come out. And sometimes you need to put yourself in a place or a space or with a person or whatever in order for it to be activated. So yeah, trust that too, and write every day. That was something that was so hard for me coming into this. Well, I mean, I journal, but like I do so many things in my journal that it's just like actual writing out like what I experienced, like sensory details, all of that. That's not a thing. And it's like, you might have had a diary as a child, but like how, like were you really capturing what was happening? Like probably not, And so writing every day will, like, just getting into the practice of doing that will support you to realize what parts or moments of your day you actually probably aren't capturing, and then how to actually do that. Yeah.
Yes. Thank you. I want to thank y'all so much. We're gonna transition to having a moment where we are able to take some of what we feel to others. So there is of course a prompt, because yeah, the write every day. You can generate um, prompts from saying, I will tell my truth. And then just everything you begin to look at as you walk with that walking meditation, everything you see in your day will then prompt some memory or prompt something. And then with the writing every day, it's just like, you just write down what's coming up or write down what you're feeling because of prompts. And so speaking of prompts, so I have been doing a thing forever called the story gourd. Um, and it has just been the most beautiful, powerful thing. And when I get to Zambia, I will arrive. I'll leave here on the 1st, but I won't arrive there until the night of the 3rd. And so then I get up, and the next day I do a public piece, a sort of lecture. Y'all know I don't do, the lecture is all interactive, so I don't. We can give them a new name, but I do work, with the general community, and I'm going to have them do the story gourd and speak to this same prompt. So I'm about to put the prompt in the chat box, but I will tell you, what did I do with that bag? I'm not getting ready to search for that bag. I'm lying. I'm going to search for that bag. All right. So this bag has in it not all the prompts from, I don't know. I've been doing this. I really did lose track of time. I used to say people 25 years, but it's like, well, you've been saying that for 10 years. So maybe you've been doing it 35 years. But where all these little sheets of paper are in here, where people have just written down a simple event. And then I'll take it to somebody somewhere else, and then I have them reach in the bag, and then they open it up. I don't know what's on here. Um, so I was so proud to see my dad. That was payment enough for me. And then to ask them what did they think, feel, or remember from that. It's just like connecting us across just the simplicity of, when I say story, it can be the simplicity of event. So I'm going to put something in the chat for you. And this is the same prompt that I will give them. It looks long, but it's not. There's just all my extra behind it. So the prompt is, just jot down in the chat box an event in your life where something happened that was caused by colonization. And it could be a moment in time. It could be what happened to me last week, where it's just like, the only reason I'm trying to speed off to Tuskegee is because all the funds are drying up, and I'm doing things that I wouldn't characteristically do with moving my family. And then as I speed off to Tuskegee loses the funding for the position that I'm speeding off for, so I got to turn my car around. So that's mine. That's all colonization. I'm in motion because I'm responding to colonization. And the rest of it is just me trying to explain. It could be racism, sexism, homophobia, classism, war, poverty, capitalism. Y'all get it, right? So we're just literally going to jot down in the chat, and that's why I'm going to do mine. I'm going to do it right here in the chat. And then we're going to exchange. You guys are going to be the story gourd for them. They'll stick their hands in, I'll take these and I'll make little pieces of paper out of it. And then let's see what they have to say. So I'm just going to do mine right in here. Everybody can like mute and then type yours right into the chat if you can. All right, what y'all got? Put it on in there. And this for everybody. Brian, Andrea, Olivia. Mm, hmm. So I'm just gonna read out what we have, and then I'm gonna tell y'all where I'm going and what I'm doing, and we're gonna close out with some beauty. So everybody want to read their own? Zenzele, you want to read your own?
Yeah, mine was I had to sell my first house where I raised my kids in order to be debt free. So I had to decide whether or not like we always think that you can just kind of build wealth or people be like, "Oh, you have to create wealth, da da da." But honestly, we're not recreating wealth if we're in debt. And so I just had to like sell it in order to like be debt free after my kids um like finished high school and stuff. And I felt like that was dispossession because I could either be like a what do you call it, like a wage slave, or I can like be completely and utterly free from debt. And I feel like white people don't have to deal with that and wealthy people don't have to deal with that. But that's a direct result of like slavery and us just not having what we need. So anyways, that's one thing.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm also stuck in the academy when I don't want to be here for another year because it's so crazy.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. And y'all already heard mine.
Mm-hmm.
But at the end, I said, "Thank you, universe, for turning my butt away from the fears associated with colonization response to life." Yeah, yeah, yeah. All that is a word. Thank you, Zenzile. Angel, you want to read yours?
I said two Dominicanas mistreated me while at Sephora in Paris. Now I didn't have any business there anyway. But it did bother me. Because when I went, it was just Mademoiselle, you are so beautiful from all kinds of people, especially white people. It was like a coronation otherwise. And um these two women just decided they did not like that because I didn't do anything to them to deserve that. And so it was just really weird. They were yelling at me in Sephora. And I was just like,
Mm,
what is going on? So
hmm.
yeah, that's what I would share.
Thank you for that. That sort of that internalized, the way that we like internalize the brown people all trying to get the attention of the people trying to be in the favor of the people who don't like none of us, no way.
Like you're acting like this and no other European is acting like this. Out of that is like the ultimate colonization. Like
Yeah,
we both are here. Like
exactly, exactly. I won't read anyone's on their behalf unless they ask me to. Um, Yeah, so I do see two others. I see one for Olivia and one for Brian. If you want me to, I'll read it. Otherwise, I shall leave it be. But I will take it with me. So I will take it with me as part of the exchange. And names are never attached, as you notice from the little sheets of paper that are in here. I try to keep in the plastic bag ones that are in other languages so that I can, those can be for people of that language as well. Um, this one is I woke up to my alarm after I pressed snooze. Like that. It's like, dang it. Yeah, so listen. So I am going to be going. I will leave on September 1st. I want to screen share with y'all real quick. Also, the next you know how you have stuff up or you're just like, I'm getting ready. I know how to screen share this real quick. But if you just hang in there with me for 1 second, I will open this again as it has closed. Um, and I want to screen share with you all about the next workshop that's coming up. So The next session of the 12-week workshop starts at the end of September. And let me screen share. There we go. That's where we are now. This is my website, by the way. So this is the events and workshops. So I'm ZeldaLockhart.com. Go keep up with what's on my website. And then here, when you scroll down, this is the next one that's coming up. So it's the full-length manuscript workshop. This one is going to be on Sundays. So 12 Sundays from 1 to 3. I have had repeated requests over the last 2 that I've done to say, please do your next session in the day on the weekend. So we will skip November 30th, and we will have a field trip in between. So there will be a field trip workshop that will be both virtual and in person. I ain't gonna tell you what it is, but it's gonna be awesome in the middle. And so it's Sundays from 1 to 3, starting on September. Is that in here? It's supposed to be in here. I need to go back and correct that. It starts on September 28th. That's on the flyer, but I don't think it's sitting up here. It starts on September 28th, and it runs right until fall is over. So fall is over on December 21st. So that's when we end. And so I wanted to offer you all that. And then in closing, I wanted to let the 3 in this cohort close us out by saying, by offering us, letting us know, if you were to tell us something, give us a directive for this next week. Let's just keep it to a week of our lives. Um, what kind of blessing, what kind of affirmation, what kind of wisdom would you give us for the next week, so that we can walk around with the beauty of your words?
Mine's is short and sweet. Just follow the tiny thread.
Mm. Mhm.
I feel something similar. I like just take your time. Go at
Mm.
your pace, find your pace and go at it and just keep doing it until you get used to it. I am talking to myself right now and it's working so far. So I'm gonna keep going. And that's what I would say. It's just taking your time, doing things at your pace and being bold about it. So
Mhm.
Mhm.
I guess I would say, the page is actually your friend. It's not something to be afraid of. It's your friend. It's waiting. If you can just write down what you did today, like really just what you did, how you felt, what you smelled, what you tasted, all of those things, that's your friend. And I think that's the best thing that I can say and really that I got out of this workshop, because I do not have a problem with sitting down and getting what's here and here onto that page. And I love it.
Hmm. I typed up what y'all said. If you all want to, if anybody wants to do a quick cut and paste and take that with them into their day. Thank you, Andrea. Says, thank you, Zelda. You are awesome, as are the wise women reading. All the best. Hope you all publish, yeah, and blow up even more. Yes, and I
Oh,
skipped.
wow.
Yeah, I forgot to read a comment earlier from Andrea. Incredible. You all have so much to teach us, and I am listening. And yes, about the publishing and blow it up and keep illuminating, keep teaching us. Brian says, thank you all so much for sharing. Olivia says, thank you, everyone. I thank all of you, and I will make this recording available for all to witness and be part of. Thank you.
Thank
Love you
y'all.
guys. Bye.
Bye.
Y'all take care of
bye.
yourselves. Don't be strangers.
Yeah, we got our group chat.
Oh, wait, picture. Yeah.
Uh,
Yeah. Bye.
bye.
Right.